I'm just going to say it. Writer's block has nothing to do with creativity. It's not that you don't have ideas. It's not that you aren't talented. It's certainly not because you're not a real writer. It's not because you aren't creative enough. Really, stop thinking that. It's not because you're not intelligent enough. And it's not because you aren't dedicated enough. You've done the work. You are doing the work, but for some reason, you're still struggling to finish your first draft. So, what's the problem then? What's going on? Why is this so difficult? Well, writer's block happens for three reasons. One, because you, as the writer, are not feeling the emotion of your story. Think about it. When you have a particular scene that you're super excited to write, you feel the emotion of it. You feel the rush, you feel the adrenaline. You're feeling emotion and you cannot wait to sit down and write that scene. Now, conversely, when you have a scene that's kind of blah or that you think isn't super exciting, then you're not really excited to sit down and write it, and it can be a real struggle to actually sit down and get that scene written. So you need to be able to feel the emotion of your story in order to be successful at getting it written. And I've got news for you. If you're thinking, I'll just muscle my way through it, force myself to write that boring scene, your readers are going to feel about that scene the same way you feel about it. So if you think it's boring, your readers are going to be bored with it as well. The second reason that writer's block happens is because you don't yet know what's going to happen in your story in great detail. I know. A lot of you are probably thinking, but I'm a pantser and I don't know how to plan a detailed outline. And this might be because you just simply don't know step by step how to do it, or maybe because you've tried before and it just doesn't work. You think, my brain doesn't work that way. I have to pants. But I need you to hear me on this. That is just a lack of knowledge for how to put together an outline. You simply need to learn what you need to plan for your story in order to know what you're going to write. And research has been done on this. If you sit down at your computer to write with no idea what's going to happen in your scene, your brain becomes overwhelmed and will start giving you excuses for why not to write. And they may be very legitimate excuses. The dishes need to be done, the dog needs to be walked. These are things that you genuinely need to do, but your brain will come up with excuse after excuse after excuse to keep you from writing because it's overwhelmed. So it will make you feel tired. It will make you not be in the right brain space to write. It will come up with everything, and that's because it doesn't know what's going into the scene yet. So you sit down, you get overwhelmed, and your brain just shuts down. The third reason that writer's block happens is because you are trying to use plot-based templates to craft your story and write your first draft. And the reason that's a problem is because plot-based templates do not address the emotional side of things at all. They were designed to organize external plot events, okay? They were never designed to unlock the emotion of your story. And that emotion is what is going to push your plot forward, hook your reader, and make you excited, really lit up to write your story. Because if the emotion isn't there, the writing is going to die on the page, and so will your motivation to write it. So in this video, I'm going to show you something very simple, the real causes of writer's block and how to fix them. We're not going to do more outlining. We're not going to use more story templates. We don't even need more writing time. We just need to change what you're doing during that writing time. So I'm going to show you one very simple shift in the way that you craft your story. And this shift is going to reconnect you to the emotion of your story. And you're probably going to be amazed at how much more passionate you feel about writing your story once you do this. So before we get into how to fix this, I want to show you what writer's block can actually look like. There's a very good chance that you are experiencing some part of it and you may not even realize it. So as I go through these, tell me in the comments which one that you have experienced the most. Number one, you sit down to write and suddenly your mind goes blank. You just can't think of what to put on the page next. Anybody? Number two, your scenes feel flat and boring when you write them, even if plot-wise, you know what's going to happen. Number three, maybe you write and rewrite the same scenes over and over again, but never move forward to other scenes. Number four, you know what happens in your book, but you're just not feeling it. It's just not that exciting to you, and you're worried that readers are going to be bored with it. And number five, you're starting to feel like you're forcing your writing rather than just letting it flow through you. All of these things are symptoms of writer's block. So let me know in the comments which one resonates with you most. So here we are in 2026, and you want to be a successful fiction author. Well, guess what? You are going to have to shift the way that you are crafting your stories. Here's why in 2026, authors are shifting to a more emotional storytelling model. First of all, marketing can only take you so far. Great marketing can get you a rash of sales up front, but if readers aren't feeling something when they read your book, you hit that dreaded sales cliff pretty quickly. On the other hand, if the emotion is there, then the book has staying power. The next reason that we need to shift is that AI is here and it has changed everything. That's true of every industry out there, but fiction writing is no different. Readers are telling us in no uncertain terms that they do not want AI written stories. AI is bland. And yeah, it might be able to craft the perfect hero's journey, but there's no real emotion, no soul behind what AI writes, and the reader can feel that. Readers don't want blah. They want to feel big emotions when they're reading your books. So if you want to be a successful author in 2026, you have to give the reader what they want. You have to start writing stories from the emotion, not from the plot. Another reason for this shift is that even among human authors, the competition is fiercer than it has ever been. Hundreds to thousands of books are uploaded every single month on Amazon and other retailers. So if you want to stand out, more action, more plot twists, they just aren't going to cut it. The only way to stand out amongst the sea of authors is to write a story that gives the reader an emotional experience. And finally, humans are craving connection more now than ever because of our devices, because of AI, because we're more antisocial than ever. Put in your favorite argument, they all have truth to them. And so if a reader picks up your book and then has to work to find the emotion in it, that's just not going to fly. They're going to put your book down and they're going to go pick up a different book that does make them feel the emotion. So writing a book without emotion or just going with the plot-based template and thinking, it'll be fine, you're actually doing yourself a disservice by doing that because you're hamstringing your book sales before you even finished your first draft. I got frustrated with plot-based templates quite a while ago, and it's not because they weren't helpful in figuring out the events of my story. They absolutely were. But once I'd filled out the template, it was kind of like, okay, well, what's next? How do I actually translate this into scenes in my book? How do I get them written? How can I be sure what I write is going to hook readers? And how do I motivate myself to actually get the words onto the page? And all of the things we've talked about, free online writing blogs, craft books, plot-based templates, none of them help with any of that. So now that you know what will actually work to help you finish your novel and end up with an unputdownable book for readers, here is what a results-driven process should look like. Remember, you don't need more templates, you don't need to work harder, you don't even need more writing time. This system will work in whatever time you are already setting aside in your schedule to write. So go ahead and give me a thumbs up if you're thinking, hallelujah, I'm ready to make progress and get results when I sit down to write, rather than feeling like I just wasted an hour with nothing to show for it. Because I'm telling you, once you learn this, it's going to change the way that you approach crafting your fiction forever. Okay, so this strategic process works with your creativity rather than fighting against it. It crafts every part of your story with compelling emotion. It gives you a detailed story plan that allows you to sit down and write every scene without stress or frustration. It creates a cohesive, riveting novel that readers just can't stop reading. And it allows you to take any story idea you have from premise to fully written first draft in 6 months or less. This is exactly how one of my students went from having a very nebulous idea of what her story was about, but not where to go with it or how to finish it, to realizing she was writing a trilogy and having a very detailed outline of all 3 books so she could easily just sit down and write them. This is also how I'm currently writing what will probably end up being a 12-book high fantasy series with, like Game of Thrones length tomes. But it has 6 point of view characters in it. And every single one of those characters has their own internal arc, their own transformation, and of course, their own external plot line. But the thing is, using this particular system, I am able to outline their stories, all 6 of them, for any given installment in the series in about a week's time. I already know where I'm going, at least on a high level, for most of the books in the series, and I know how it's going to end. And all of that means that I can be confident in my foreshadowing, as well as in my characters' thoughts and feelings, because I know what part of their transformation they're in and how to convey that to the reader on the page. And all of that makes the reader need to know what happens next. So they will keep turning pages and buying subsequent books. By the way, if you have a story, a premise, or even just the seed of a story, but you're not exactly sure where you're going with it, I have a mini course that will guide you through mapping out the skeleton of your plot in less than an hour. You can get it right here at this URL, or it will also be in the caption. All right, so here is what your 2026 strategy needs to be. You're going to build your story based on the steps of transformation that your character is already going through. So here's something most people won't tell you. A character's inner journey, their internal arc, is always based on psychology. Now, because you're a writer, even if you don't know this, you probably understand the psychology of human behavior more than the average person. But even so, if you're not completely sure, or if you're not being intentional about this, you're probably missing the mark. Inside my Emotional Storytellers Intensive, I'm going to show you exactly how to craft your inner arc using human psychology. The second thing you're going to do in your process is journal on each and every step, so that you're letting your unique subconscious creativity inform what is happening internally with your character and how that will be reflected outwardly on the page. Journaling is the hack that is finally going to banish writer's block for you. It allows you to surrender to your subconscious mind, which is where your subconscious creativity lives. And it allows you to write your soul story because it's coming from your unique experience and the unique lens through which you see the world. Once you start crafting your stories this way through journaling, you're never going to go back to doing anything else. That much I can promise you. The third step in the process is to create a cause and effect scene outline so that your story makes sense in a cause and effect sort of way, and the ending feels like destiny. Then after that, the fourth step is to go back through and pepper your story with emotions, repetition, foreshadowing, setups, payoffs, all of the little details that make it feel as though you sat down and wrote the story from beginning to end and it was just perfect. Of course, we know that's not how you actually write a story, but it should feel that way to the reader. All of this is going to give you a majorly detailed outline that you will have scene by scene before you even start writing. Now, let's talk about why this works so well. Number one, you're being very intentional about it. So obviously, we're going to go through every single step of story. What you need to plan, how you need to plan it, what the psychology of it is, all of that. And having that detailed outline to work from will make it a lot easier for you to actually do the writing. Your brain is not going to become overwhelmed like we talked about before. And as I say, journaling on each step is going to help you write your unique soul story, which also means that you're going to be very passionate about your story. You're never going to feel like it's bland or dull. That happens because you're trying to force a story that is not aligned with your subconscious creativity. And once again, if you're passionate about your story, the reader will be too. Whatever emotions you feel when writing your story, the reader will pick up on those. The cause and effect scene outline makes the story feel like it's very, very cohesive. You're being very intentional. You know exactly what you need to do, exactly what you need to include to make your story emotional. And think about what most authors do. They simply meander along, try to write their story, do the best they can, but it's hit and miss whether they're actually getting the emotion onto the page or not. This is going to show you exactly what you need so that you can be intentional about going back and putting it in. And then you're never going to wonder whether your story is emotional. You'll know that it is. You'll know that readers are going to feel something when they read it. And kind of a little bonus, but putting patterns into your story. So repetition of theme or foreshadowing and then paying it off, any kind of setup and payoff, your reader's brain will pick up on those patterns, right? And picking up on those patterns makes them feel emotion. So before we wrap up, I want to show you that this works. I want you to do a little exercise with me. Either grab a pen and paper, or if you're at your computer, you can open a word processor, something you can type into. If you're not in a place where you can actually do the typing or the handwritten journaling, that's okay. Just relax your brain and let your imagination flow and just do it in your head. But if you can journal, I want you to journal because it's more powerful that way. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to journal for 1 minute. I'm literally going to put 1 minute on the clock and you're going to journal on this question. What is the emotional problem my protagonist is living inside at the beginning of the story? Okay, now if you have no idea, then just start journaling about how your protagonist feels at the beginning of the story and why. What is he feeling those emotions about, or she? Okay, so what is their emotional state? What are they dealing with emotionally at the very beginning of the story? All right, you ready? Don't think, don't force your thoughts, let them flow, relax your brain, go. Okay, stop. So, chances are, if you actually did the journaling, you probably figured out some things about your character that you didn't know before. You probably got a few insights. So, what came up? Feel free to tell me in the comments what insights you got from this exercise. Are you a little bit clearer on your character's emotional state at the beginning of your story? If you are, you just accessed true soul story emotion that applies to your character. Congratulations. That's great that you just did that. And that means that you got a little more clarity on your story. And you guys, that was 1 minute of journaling on one question. In fact, you might even be feeling like you could have gone longer. 1 minute wasn't enough and you wanted to keep going. Yeah, it's because you were accessing that flow and the ideas will just start to flood through. Okay, this is how powerful journaling is. I call this creative discovery through structured journaling. And it's structured because I will always give you the question to journal on, and your subconscious will answer very specific questions. Okay, how specific the answers are going to be determined by the quality of the question that you ask, right? So you always want to ask very specific questions, not what happens next in my story, but my character is in the scene and is feeling this way, and I need to get them to here, and how do I do that, right? Very, very specific. And your subconscious will supply the answers if you relax your brain and let the flow and the answers come, okay? So what you just did is you opened the door to the emotion of your story by inviting your subconscious to give you answers, okay? And that's exciting. That's super cool, okay? At the end of the day, I just want you to remember that writer's block is not about creativity. It's not about intelligence. It's not about discipline, right? It's about emotional disconnection. In our case, emotional disconnection from the story or from the characters, okay? You don't know what the emotion is. You don't know how to convey it on the page. You're not feeling the emotion of your story. And that means you're certainly not conveying that emotion to the reader either, right? And that is why you don't feel like writing or you can't seem to get the words down. Emotion is the way back into your story. Going through the subconscious mind, that will help you access the emotion of your story. Telling your story through character transformation and the inner arc will help the reader access the emotion of the story. So in the next video, I'm going to show you how me and my students are writing full, highly emotional novels that hook readers and keep them turning pages in 6 months or less, without burnout and without getting stuck halfway through. You can watch it right here, and I will see you there.